Yes, where was I? I had to pick up because I'm very challenged by um, people who just live their life as if there is no repercussions and don't even care about the repercussions and inconveniencing others, and um, there are things that one participate in, and but that what you participate in, sh- that's on you, and it should keep it amongst yourselves, don't inconvenience others. So this neglect, which leads to physical harm, and you see when someone inconvenience others at the expense of their convenience and disrespect others, it will lead to physical harm. Psychologists know this. When you have been neglected, you're withholding something that is necessary for people to maintain their health and their well-being. That's neglect. Then abandonment is the desertion, willful forsaking. Why hast thou forsaken me? But it is associated like with elderly, who deal with some type of abuse. There is psychological abuse, that the elderly go through. So that's a rough topic. Then there's physical abuse. Then there's financial abuse, and we see in the field where the medical or health field, where I guess they're trying to, who public officials or whoever is backing the public official, whoever create the laws, if you ain't got no money to pay for your medication, you have to make a decision. Should it be food or should it be medication? That's financial abuse. You're putting people under strain, the stress and strain. You have to wait to a year to get your Social Security. I mean, who comes up with this stuff, man? So who's going to liable for this type of mentality, for this type of thinking? So when people rise up, it's only psychologically, that's only natural. I think we have to start looking at when it comes to abandonment and neglect and how people respond and react. It seems to be natural because people wants to improve upon their life. The totality of their mental well-being. They want value, find a place of belonging. They don't want to be neglected. They don't want the resources to be managed and controlled by a tyrant. Their time controlled, their energy, and trying to alter the masses of the people nature. That's very diabolical, man. We got to maybe we're dealing not on a tyrant, but a mad scientist who create terms such as minimum wage. Creates terms. We create terms say, well, it'll always be rich and poor. I mean, rich and poor. Why is that always applied to money? Why can't people just be rich in their character, rich in their caring, rich in their giving, rich in their culture? Yeah, it's got to be, everything is tied to monetary or money. How can't we just be rich in spirit? rich in how we treat one another. But when someone else mistreats you, then you become impoverished. When someone physically, psychologically, and financially abuse you, and you're going to resist that, then you may wind up not only abusing yourself, you'll wind up abusing others because you have been abused. When we see people out there in any jurisdiction, they just hanging out and doing nothing with, and doing whatever that they're doing. We know what it's a result of neglect. It's a result of neglect, man. There was a story, a book called Half Slave, Half Free, about how uh, his parent had to go had a child, and I'm telling the story, but I may be telling it wrong. But making a point here is that the jobs were distant. They had to travel far to get the job, so they had children. And if there is a breakdown in the community, then the child will become unsupervised. If the child become unsupervised, she almost be like out there for a wolf to devour the child. So what happened is the child became unsupervised, and someone else came in and filled that void, and then the child stopped participating in prostitution because she was unsupervised. Because the job, the parent had to travel far, which means distant him or herself from the child. And if there is no breakdown, no stability in the community to look out or after that child, then they participate in prostitution, but participate in other acts as well. It correlates. Everything correlates, man. That what affects one directly affects the other indirectly. Yes. So we see that the suffering of neglect and abandonment, how that correlates to the manner in a way in which we interact one with another. And then the devices and other things come into play and fills that void. So the solution is this here, is that first of all, you don't destroy the confidence of a child. It starts off very young. You don't neglect or abandon um, the woman. We don't abuse each other with drugs or alcohol or whatever we consume, and place that on the child. Not to mention what we call grace and mercy, if that takes place. Um, that the child comes out and he or she becomes aware of his or her potential, and that potential does not become, contaminated or corrupted, which I mean in their attitude, so that they, can ascend, so they can rise above the situation, the circumstances, and the condition. And in rising above, we're pulling others up with the rising above. And may we continue to do our best to reach the mark or hit the mark. And the mark is accountability. So we want to be accountable for our actions. And I think that we have failed short of being when it comes to accountability, and that's moral culture decline. Moral culture decline is accountability. People seem to be so happy when they're high, off a drug, feeling good, trying to fill the void, and suffering withdrawals when unable to get and obtain their high because they are not dealing with this reality when it comes to their self, coming into their true self. So, neglect leads to physical harm through the withholding of services necessary to maintain one's health and well being, and abandonment, including desertion of being deserted, of forsaking one's duties and obligations. So, if you are a caretaker, as a leader, as a representative, public official, or what have you, and you neglect your duties to those whom you say you represent, then there must be some consequences and some repercussions. Because if someone financially supports you, they put their money out there, they invested in you, and you better do what they tell you gonna do. Even if you gotta lie and scheme and cheat to do it. But if it's on your heart, you have the courage and the valor, the dignity and the integrity and the honor, the decency, the respect, then it wouldn't be about the money. It would be about something that is from your heart, that you will resist the temptation of the devil. All the devil does is offer you a suggestion. He arouses your desires. Three ways I've learned that he come to you: physically, financially, physically, and through some form of power, and psychologically. Do what I say and not what I do. Just do what I tell you to do. And I'll give you the money to do it. And you will be I'm paying you to control and manage the people. I'm controlling you. I mean, I am controlling you. I am in control of you because I have the money, and the money I have the backing, physical support of backing because I have the mentality to get to you psychologically because you want what I have. But I'm not going to give you what I have. I'm not going to allow you to teach you how to fish, but I'm going to give you a fish. I'm not going to teach you my tricks and trade in its totality. I may give you bits and pieces, but in all actuality, you're still depending on me. I am your teacher. You are my student. Don't you want to be like me? Don't you want to mislead and deceive the world? Don't you want my position? Trifling ass son of a gun, don't you want my position? This is how he really thinks and talks about you. And you have accepted that this is how you really feel about yourself. Trifling. And then someone comes to tell you the truth about yourself, then you want to, about a side of you, I mean, a part of you that is being manipulated and controlled, then you want to rise up and then you want to get in some fisticuffs. Organizations have become trifling. So-called leaders have become trifling. Public officials are trifling. It's called niggardly. So we must restore the credibility and not entertain and be around those who are discreditable, who are dishonorable, and those that are disrespectful. Neglect and abandonment, psychological, physical, financially, emotional abuse is old, man. It's outdated. It's antiquated. So may we continue to do our best when it comes to restoring credibility. We're addressing social diversity and as it pertains to one's aspiration, revising social coherency, replenishing social continuity and reclaiming social solidarity, and be good caretakers of the substance and the resources that we have so that we can utilize these resources for the betterment of for the development of our intellect, for the betterment of our humanity, and maybe continue to find the credibility within ourselves and among ourselves in a very honorable, respectful, caring, loving way, in the best of ways, not in the credibility where someone gives you something on credit and they give you something on credit, and it's not from their heart, but they seek a payment uh, in return, and in that payment in return, they're just holding you hostage, and they can give you something on credit that's not good for you. You know what I'm saying? So let us restore the good credit that is in us all, that is in our nature, to do good and to be kind to one another. That we can be very honorable, decent, respectful uh, human beings. And then we deal with the readdressing diversity. That which is coming from all directions, diversifying, coming in all directions, as it is designed really to address aspirations. Because when inspiration comes down, one's aspiration goes up, and therefore wherever we go, we can make a difference and be an impact in the lives of others. That we be an inspiration to ourselves as well as an inspiration to others. Then coherent, to be coherent, to be clear. When you're clear, you're clean. When you're clean, you become very concise. Yes, and be very cognitive. Be very cognitive. Yes, because when we come out of our mother womb, we come out, be aware of our potential to be successful and to succeed, rise above any given situation, any circumstances, because I realize that we're born and conditioned, placed in a situation, surrounded by circumstances. Consequently, it's due to some previous activity that has taken place. And then to replenish social continuity, you know, um, someone says that the ghetto is like a domestic colony, always being depleted but never replenished. You know, so we want to complete the continuity of the confidence in cooperating with one another without neglect and without abandonment. You see, and then we want to reclaim social solidarity. When you have solidarity, anything that comes up against you will proceed coming up against you with caution, because you have the solidarity. It's like a community of people who function as a community, or a house that's functioning as a house, which means each every one of the people of the house are like caretakers. They're looking out for one another, and they have the responsibility to take care of each other in the best of ways. And I mean, when you deal with the term righteousness, it means a meaningful life, to live a meaningful life, free from as free as you can from contamination, corruption, chaos, confusion, hostility, uh, disrespect. Free as much as you can from those disturbances. You see, there was a sister who made a transition. He says, "Well, what she need?" I'm paraphrasing the question. She says, "Cayenne pepper and a stash of cash and a quiet place to live." Yes. So may we continue to be at peace, and continue to live as sisters and brothers in the best of our ability, and to be of supportive love one another. And until next time, talk to you.